Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy for the date 7th October 2023. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. So these are all the articles which we are going to discuss in the upcoming slides. Have a look at it. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. The first news is the left-wing extremism will be uprooted in the next 2 years, said by our Union Home Minister Amit Shah in a conference held recently, where a meeting was held to review the security situation of the left-wing extremist activities that has been taking place across the Red Corridor states. And what the data has been released by the government is that there has been a decline of nearly 52% of left-wing extremist related violence and 69% in decline in the deaths. Similarly, 72% in the decline in the security forces death, and then 68% decline in the civilians death between the period of 2014 to 2023. Okay, how the news has been related to examination is under mains GS paper 3 internal security. It is been related to linkage between development and spread of extremism. Okay, what is the left-wing extremism is about? The left-wing extremism is nothing but an organization, or it is also called as an ideology, where they try to bring change through violent means, and then they are against the democratic institutions and they use violence to subvert the democratic process at ground level. Basically, they depend on violent means to make the changes or to achieve their goals. And what is the causes for left-wing extremism in the states is, first and foremost cause is the rising inequality. It can be either economic inequality or social inequality or political inequality or administrative inequality and so on and so forth. Secondly, the displacement of people, most importantly the tribal or those people whose livelihood dependent on the agriculture's activities, and their displacement because of the unplanned developmental activities and other infrastructure building activities. Such kind of things also lead to rise of left-wing extremism. Then third is ideological influence. Their ideology, there are some youngsters and some people who believe that this ideology is correct, so they will be moved towards the likeness of their ideologies. Fourthly, political marginalization. Because of less representation of certain section of people in the political sides, their voice could not be heard, as a result of which their views will not be reflected in the policy, which in turn leads to exclusion of their views in the implementation of those policies, as a result of which they are getting marginalized. So this political marginalization is also one of the factor for the cause of left-wing extremism. Then finally, lack of developmental activities and inequalities between the developed as well as those states which has left-wing extremism is also major cause for the rise of left-wing extremism in those areas. And then what is the challenges the government is facing in controlling the left-wing extremism is, first and foremost challenge is the lack of cooperation between the states as well as between the security agency, between the paramilitary force as well as the state police officials, or between the two states police officials. There are because of this kind of lack of coordination and cooperation, there has been it is one of the challenges to control the left-wing extremism. Similarly, inadequate resource for those people or those security agencies, those who are involved in controlling the left-wing extremism is also another challenge to control the extremism. And then lack of intelligence gathering. This the intelligence gathering skills is also its lacuna is one of the challenges for the government to control the left-wing extremist activities. And then lack of dialogues and political engagement between the people, those who have been affected by left-wing extremism, and then the people from the political class is also one of the factors to control the left-wing extremism. Why? Because this left-wing extremist activities has been viewed from security angle, not from the perspective of the dialogues as well as positive engagement, so that they could be their grievance, those people, those who have those kind of ideology because of certain grievance will be addressed because of these kind of dialogues. But these kind of dialogues as well as the political engagement is not mostly happening. So as a result of which it is contributing to the challenges to control the left-wing extremist activity. And then lack of trust among the local people who have been affected by the inequalities as well as the displacement of certain developmental activities by the government side is also acting as another hindrance to control the left-wing extremism. And then what government has done to reduce these challenges as far as the rise of left-wing extremism is, it has introduced the deployment of CAPF in the adequate number of personals. See, those personnel who have been related to CAPF in the left-wing extremist affected states, and then fund to strengthen the security infrastructure in those left-wing extremist areas is also being strengthened. Then Samdhan doctrine and holistic doctrine to holistically develop the security force as well as those people, those who have been affected by those extremist activities, and then security related expenditure schemes. So these are all the initiatives made by government to reduce the left-wing extremism. And then surrender policy is also been made so that those who are voluntarily surrendering to the government, there will be certain concessions for them. And then modernization of the police is also being funded by the government so that the modernization of the police could take place, which in turn will lead to effective control of these kind of extremist activities in the red corridor areas. What is the way forward that could be done is, first and foremost is there need to be increase in the political dialogues. Secondly, there need to be strengthening of intelligence gathering, and then the capacity of the security forces in intelligence gathering need to be strengthened. Thirdly, the trust issue between the local people as well as the administration need to be addressed. Fourthly, the capacity building of the security forces needed to be taken care, and then proper inclusive development needed to be taken place to those areas that has been affected by left-wing extremist activities. So these are all the way forward that need to be done to overcome the lacunae or the rise of left-wing extremist activities. So this is what the overall analysis in relation to what is left-wing extremism and what is the causes and challenges for left-wing extremism, and what is the government initiative and what is the way forward to overcome those rise as well as challenges of left-wing extremism. And then what need to be studied further is, we should know about what is insurgency, what is terrorism, and then the extremism and the difference between the three of them. Secondly, and we should also be aware of which region has been affected by insurgency and which region has been affected by terrorism and which region has been affected by extremism activities. And then secondly, we should also know about the paramilitary forces of India. What are the different types of paramilitary forces in India and which borders are manned by which type of paramilitary forces? We should be aware of it. Thirdly, we should know about vibrant village scheme which is being implemented by Union Home Ministry holistically develop the border area, villages that is present in border areas. So these are all the additional things which we need to be aware of. Second news is 28 venues, 43 sports and nearly 10,000 athletes are going to participate in the national games which is going to take place in Goa later this month. And what is the details of the news is that this national game is the 37th edition and it is scheduled to take place in Goa. New sports like beach football, roll ball, golf and spiket tekra and square martial arts, Kalaripayattu and Pencak Silat are the other new games which is going to get introduced for the first time in the national games, which is going to held in Goa. And then coastal as well as tidal rowing is going to get included first for the first time in the national games. And how the news is related to civil service examination is, under prelims the news is related to current events of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under mains it is related to GS paper 2, government policies and intervention for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation. Okay, let's have a look into the historical aspect of what is the national game is about. During 1920s, the Olympic movement started in India, as a result of which the Indian Olympic Games began to get started in India, and it began to held in different parts of the cities. And it was initially called as the national game was initially called as Indian Olympic Game, as I said. And during 1924, it began to held in once in 2 years. And after 1940s, the name got changed from Indian Olympic Game to National Games. And the first city to host the national games after independence is the Lucknow. And Indian Olympic Association is the regulatory body for the national games in India. And the Indian Olympic Association is the one which chooses the athlete, those who are going to participate in the Asian Games, Olympic Games and other international events. And then they are the authority to manage the team which are going to these events. And then it is the Indian Commonwealth Association which is responsible for the Indian team to participate in the Commonwealth Games, and it is headquartered in New Delhi. So this is what the historical aspect of national game and the details of the Indian Olympic Association which is responsible for conducting the national games. And then what is the challenges the sports faces in India is, first and foremost is there has been funding. The first and foremost important problem is the funding problem. Lack of adequate funding leads to lower number of people participating in the sports events. Secondly, poor infrastructural activity, sports related infrastructure is also hindering the participation of our youth in the sports events. Thirdly, there are only few sport leagues that has been available in India. For example, Kabaddi League, Cricket League, Football League, and we could able to count with our own finger itself. Like that of certain only few sport leagues are been sports professional leagues are available in India, and because of the unavailability of sports league for different kinds of sports, the earning opportunities for the athletes is reduced. As a result of which, it is making the athletes to hesitant to take sports as a career. And then cultural barriers like not allowing the woman child to participate in the sports related events, and not allowing the students, not allowing the youths to take sports as the career is also one of the cultural barriers that is prevailing across the country. And then lack of job security for those people who are having sports as their career is also hindering their participation in the sports in India. What is the advantage the development of sports bring to a country is that it will channelize positively the youth's energy in the productive way. Secondly, because of the development of sports related infrastructure and then the development of the related sports league will lead to development of manufacturing as well as manufacturing of equipments, which in turn will lead to increased employment. This will be leading to overall increased revenue to the government. And then sports is the one thing which ensures that there will be unity in diversity across the country. So this is what the positive things that the sports brings to a country. So, and then what need to be done is that there need to be continuous funding without any gap, and also adequate funding for the overall development of the sports in India. Secondly, sports needed to be made as integral part of education, so that it will not get isolated during the children's earlier stages of their life. And then thirdly, sports related infrastructure needed to be given high importance, so that it will have some other positive effect in the economy as well as the society as the whole. And then the body which is responsible for conducting as well as responsible for developing sports in India needed to be made transparent as well as accountable, so that their efficiency and effectiveness in performing their function will be ensured. And what need to be studied further is, we should know about what is national sports policy and the details of it. Secondly, we should also know about what are all the schemes being implemented by Government of India. Thirdly, we should also know about the Asian Games and which authority is responsible for conducting Asian Games, and right now what is the medal tally for India, and what are all the new games that has been included in the Asian Games, which is right now going now. And these are all the complete analysis in relation to the sports in India. Other news is, Russia signals intention to swiftly revoke ratification of nuclear test ban agreement. Russia indicated that it will revoke the ratification of CTBT, and what the experts are predicting is that this may lead to resumption of arms race, which was stopped after 1990s, that is after disintegration of Soviet Union, and because of the Russia's revoking of the ratification, the arms race, there is a chance that the arms race between the developed countries or the big economics like US, China and the Russia will begin. And this is what the explanation is. How the news is related to exam is, under prelims the news is being related to current events of national and international importance. Similarly, under mains it is related to effect of policies and politics of development and developing countries of India's interest and Indian diaspora. Okay, let's have a look into what is this comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty is about. It is a multilateral treaty that bans all the nuclear explosions as well as experiments, and it has been adopted by United Nations General Assembly in 1996. It is still in the ratification stage. The major countries like Pakistan, China, US are not yet still ratified the comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty, and this is one of the major reason why Russia is going to revoke its ratification, because US did not ratify it. So by revoking the ratification given by the Russia will be in the equal foot with US in terms of nuclear technology. So how the new comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty came into effect is that during 1945 US was the first country to conduct the world's first nuclear weapon test, and during 1949 the Russia, that is previously Soviet Russia, tested their first nuclear weapon, and this led to arms race between Soviet Russia as well as the United States between 1950 and early 1990s. Because of the arms race that has taken place between the developed countries like US, UK, France, China, Russia, led to major health related issues for the people, those who are living in the surrounding space where the nuclear test has been conducted. As a result of which, during 1963, limited test ban treaty was made, which prohibited or banned the nuclear testing in space, atmosphere as well as underwater, but it exempted underground nuclear testing. So which provided and which is one of the gap in the limited test ban treaty. But even after the introduction of the limited test ban treaty, the nuclear testing did not stop. It was going, the test was going at the rate which was previously conducted. So as a result of which, during 1990s, the CTBT was introduced during the negotiation of non-proliferation treaty, but it did not get materialized. It did not get the enough support from the other countries. And then during the mid 1970s, threshold test ban treaty was signed between USSR as well as US, which established a nuclear threshold between the countries. It has fixed a limit beyond which both the countries could not able to test the nuclear weapons. After 1990s, that is after disintegration of Soviet Union, United Nations took this as the opportunity to speedily ratify, adopt as well as implement the comprehensive test ban treaty. As a result of the effort of the United Nations, the CTBT was adopted in 1996. So this is what the historical aspect of CTBT. Does CTBT stop the nuclear testing? No. After the introduction of CTBT, 10 nuclear testing has been taken place between two by India and by North Korea and by Pakistan. But US, Russia, China, France have not tested after the 1996. This is what the complete historical aspect as well as analysis in relation to the CTBT is about. What need to be studied further is, we should know about the India's nuclear program. Secondly, we should know about the non-proliferation treaty. Thirdly, we should know about nuclear supply group, MTCR, Wassenaar agreement as well as Australian group, in which India is part of all the three grouping but not the member of NSG, which the China blocks India from entering into it. So we should be aware of it. And this is what the news is about. And then a long pause. The news is RBI has recently, during its monetary policy committee's decision, has passed the policy rate. It does not change the previously fixed repo rate because of the uncertainty that has been prevailing in the inflation. Why? Because even though the inflation for the August month has reduced when compared to the July month, it's the inflation rate is well above the expected limit of 2 to 6%. And then there has been uncertainty in the inflation. Why? Because of the lesser production of pulses and suboptimal level of rainfall, and then the El Nino impact which is going to impact in the near future. And these are all the things which keeps the inflation in the uncertainty in the near future. How the news is related to examination is, under prelims the news is related to economic as well as social development. Similarly, under mains it is related to Indian economy and issues relating to planning, mobilization of resource, growth, development and employment, which comes under GS paper 3, economic development. Okay, let's have a look into the Monetary Policy Committee. It has been created by central government under 45 ZB of the RBI Act 1934, which was amended to give power to the central government to create the Monetary Policy Committee. And then central government was constituted 6-member body and whose decision is binding on the banks. And then RBI governor is the ex officio chairperson for the committee. It contains 3 members from central government as well as 3 representatives from the RBI. And the decision is based on the voting only, and the RBI governor will be having the casting vote. And then what is the instrument does the monetary policy have to control the inflation in India is, first and foremost, is the repo rate, the rate at which the RBI lends to the bank. It will be based on the prevailing inflation situation as well as the liquidity situation across the country. Secondly, reverse repo rate, interest rate at which the RBI borrows from the bank to suck the excess liquidity that has been prevailing in the market, so that the inflation could be reduced. By changing the rate, the inflation could be controlled. And then standing deposit facility, it is the facility where RBI accepts the non-collateral deposit on overnight basis from the liquid adjustment facility participant, that is those banks who are participant in repo as well as reverse repo rates. These both are combinedly called as LAF, that is liquid adjustment facility. Fourthly, marginal standing facility. It is the rate at which banks can borrow on an overnight basis from the Reserve Bank. And then CRR, SLR is first cash reserve ratio is the certain percentage of net time as well as demand liabilities needed to be maintained by bank with RBI. For this, bank will not be earning any interest, but for statutory liquidity ratio, certain percentage of net time demand liabilities needed to be maintained by bank within their reserve, within their bank itself, in the form of gold, security, cash, etc. And SLR gives an opportunity to earn interest for the bank. And then open market operation, based upon the prevailing condition of inflation as well as the prevailing condition of the liquidity across the system, the open market operation will be conducted accordingly to suck out the excess liquidity in the case of higher inflation, or to release excess liquidity in the case of lower inflation. For this, open market operation will be conducted. So this is what the details related to monetary policy committee is about, and the tools which is being used by monetary policy to control the inflation is about. What need to be studied further is, we should study what is inflation, what is the different types of inflation, and what impacts does the inflation creates on different aspect of the people in the economy. Secondly, we should also know about the El Nino phenomenon. Thirdly, we should also know about what is fiscal policy is, and what are all the important constituent of fiscal policies. So this is what the analysis in relation to the news. Okay, let's have a look into today's practice prelims question. So this is the today's practice prelims question. I want those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Okay students, with this we have reached the end of the today's section. Thank you.